All right, once you've gone through the basics of using After Effects for moving objects around, we're now going to take a 2D image and convert that into a 3D atmosphere, okay? I've taken an image from online, I've cut out the background in Photoshop, I brought it into After Effects, created a composition identical to the previous, 1920 by 1080 at 24 frames. I've brought the image in, and then I've dragged it down to my composition and composition timeline. To take this 2D image and to really make it look 3D, or to basically place it in a 3D environment, what we're going to do is we're going to come over to Effect, and we're going to go to Generate. So once you've actually in this case we're not going to generate, we're going to Simulation, okay? In this case we're going to go Effect, Simulation, and scroll down to Shatter. Alright, I'll leave it here for a second. So you bring your image in, you bring it down to your timeline. Once you've placed it, once you've resized it, Effect, Simulation, and then Shatter. Once you click the Shatter button, you're going to see a bunch of basically rectangles and a circle. All you need to adjust your shatter effect is over here on the left hand side. So the view is showing us we are wires and basically forces, wireframe and force. These computers are fast enough to look at a rendered version of what you're going to deal with. So you can, as long as you've got 4 megs of RAM, if you've got 8, even better, you can click on rendered. Okay, if you're working on it and it gets too slow, then simply go back to wireframe and forces. It'll still give you an idea of what's happening. For the sake of the demo, we're on rendered. So the shape, it starts to default everything to bricks. So if we scroll a little forward here, you're going to see our 2D image has now exploded into 3D space in the form of bricks. Bricks may not be the shape you're looking for. You can flick through any of these. You can go egg, you can go JS, you can go planks. You can choose whatever seems to fit for your image. Okay, you can even go to this one here on puzzles. If you find it, it'll look like perfectly shaped puzzles. So just for the sake of having something fly through space, you might want to stick with glass, or you could stick to stars, something that seems like it might make sense for being in space. All right. So to start with, all we've done is added a preset. We've gone through and just saw what it has happened to our 2D image. Now let's reverse the timeline, reassemble our ship here, and let's go through some of these settings. All right. So the shape pattern we've gone through, the repetitions, the direction, and the depth. All of these variables here are really going to drastically impact the shape we have and what we're looking at. All right, let's see if I can make this a little bigger for you, just so you can kind of see as we go through this what we're dealing with here. So if I zoom in a little bit, if I was to go into repetitions, this is going to show you how quickly, how many times they're going to spin around this position here. Okay, so how quickly are these going to rotate around? You can choose a direction, you can give it an origin, and the depth. This is really what people seem to love, because they can give it a very thick, if you're doing bricks, it'll give you very thick bricks, or it'll give you very thick objects. All right. In this case, for stars, I might just leave it somewhere around here. Gives it a nice shape to it. All we've done so far is essentially take an object and added some basic movement to it, explode it into 3D. We still have a problem. Some of this ship is still remaining as its original form. So what we'd actually do is go through the different textures, different physics, and extend and expand things. So one of them, well, we'll go through from the top here. So pattern we've done, this we're going to leave, repetition we've looked at, direction we've looked at, origin is fine, the depth is fine as well. I'm going to close the shape component. The force. The force is really where you decide, what type of a shatter is this? Is this an explosion? Is this going to be in space? Do we need gravity? In this case, though, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the radius, and I'm going to extend it out. And as I extend this radius out, you'll probably notice all of it is now grabbed in terms of being shattered. If I was to extend the timeline out, nothing is left. So the radius, as you probably remember from years ago, just the distance from the center out. But we've taken it from, I guess, essentially from here, and we've extended it beyond the edge of the ship. So that would be something I strongly recommend if you're doing this. Extend the radius. Let's go through further though. So our position, our depth, our radius, and our strength. The strength is how much is going to fly out. Our depth is basically, if you click through, it'll show you how much depth is involved. What I'm going to suggest though is you can play with these settings on your own, find what you like. You can have a second force, so if you had an explosion occurring, you could have one force exploding everything to the left, and then a secondary explosion moving that direction of all objects. All right. Here's really though where it's going to take form. If you go down to textures, oh sorry, not textures. If you come into, I'm looking for my different cameras here. So force, not in here. Physics gradient, nope. Texture, oh sorry, camera position. That's what I'm looking for here. So if you really want to make it appear as though it's flying through space, I'm going to relatively assemble it to just before the explosion, where things break off in their own direction. And I'm now going to keyframe, actually at the very beginning, I'm going to keyframe everything, just like you've done before. Okay? X, Y, and Z. You can do these ones as well. I'm going to skip a little ahead, and now I'm going to play with these a little bit. I'm going to take my X rotation, I'm going to rotate the entire object from the top down. I'm now going to take my Y, I'm going to rotate it a little bit to the side. But in my opinion, the Z was the one that will really give it an effect once you've really separated these objects out. So at this point, I'm going to go a little further to my timeline, and I'll do the same thing. I'll extend each one out a little bit further, rotate it a little further, move it this way, and my Z axis will rotate it again. If you're to zoom in on these, you're going to see that we have keyframed. These are showing you keyframes exist inside of the effects window, inside of the shatter. And if you scroll down, you'll see that it's inside a camera position, and now you can actually see those keyframes that we have initiated by clicking the stopwatch and then moving the object variables. It looks complicated, but really all you need to know is that what we've done is we've taken this object, we've shattered it into several pieces, several stars, and this is the original. So if you wanted to, you can actually reverse this footage, have it look as though there are stars flying through distant space. I mean, we're still close to the camera, but if we want to, we could have this whole thing pushed back way over here so a bunch of dots show up, and it'll shatter through this field of view. Okay, so that's one way of taking a 2D object and making it 3D. I encourage you to play around with these settings, the X, Z, and Y rotations. Into the force, keep it simple, stick with one force for now, and also the shape. The shape will give you all of your options you need. Those are the settings we've gone through today, and so if you're trying to sort of incorporate one object, you could even use this in conjunction with a live action. You could have a character going to grab an object and you could have it shatter on them. Okay? Many different applications for this. I'll leave it there for now.